Hey, what's going on, guys? Bobby Fi here. No sheets today, so it's going to be kind of a crazy schedule with the 4th of July week. So bear with us. We're going to do our best to get everything out daily. I'll be here for this and then for live later, and we'll go through it. I haven't played since Friday. Had a really good slate on Friday, but could have been a really, really good slate. Just couldn't get the pitching quite right. A bunch of top finishes, but not quite at the very, very top. That Brave stack was really good to me when they went off and had the right pieces, but just couldn't get the rest of the lineup rounded out. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen and go through game by game using SaberSim. Let me just grab it really quickly, and we'll go from there. Okay, so let's go game by game. This is probably going to be a pretty quick video, just talking quickly. It's a small slate. I think both pitchers in this New York game are viable. Neither one are preferred desirable targets for me, but they're both viable. Prefer Wells a little bit over Herman, but I'm open to both of them. You do have some potential rain issues. There is some good hitting weather with the wind blowing out, as you can see. But overall, I do think that this is a spot where both pitchers are viable, and the hitting is probably going to be a little less interesting to me than maybe some of the other spots we've got coming up. All right, Atlanta and Cleveland, Elder and Gavin Williams. I think that both sides are viable of this, taking some shots on Gavin Williams and taking some shots on the Atlanta bats. The Atlanta bats, as always, are expensive. They're going to be hard to get to, and that's going to make them a little bit lower owned for a smaller slate. So we'd have to find places to bargain down elsewhere, but I do think Atlanta is extremely viable today as a stack and one of the ones that I really like. I'm not getting to Cleveland, nor am I getting to Elder. They just don't strike out enough or provide enough power in general for me to stack. But if you wanted to stack them, I'm certainly not going to tell you you're wrong. For me, though, it's going to be mostly a little bit of Gavin Williams as a cheapo, and then Brave stacks elsewhere. Talking about KC and Minnesota, you've got Joe Ryan and Austin Cox in sort of the middle, the relief game. I do like Minnesota here. I think that this is a very reasonable spot, and I don't know how Cologne Cox is going to go, but this hitting weather is what really has me interested. So I have Minnesota as one of the preferred teams, along with Atlanta. Some of the other stacks we'll talk about a little later, but you have some value you can mix in with Farmer and Solano and Castro with guys like Buxton and Correa. It's not the most beautiful lineup in the world, but certainly one I don't mind taking a shot on. And that's the way I would do it, is probably use some of those cheapos with some of the spend ups. I have Joe Ryan as one of the top pitchers on the slate. He's the best of the guys we've run into so far that I really like tonight. Let's move on to to Los Angeles and San Diego. Snell and Berea. Look, if you wanted to do the really weird thing and double spend down with Gavin Williams and Berea, I'm not going to tell you that's wrong. You could probably make a case for it. That way you could stack Atlanta and the Dodgers or whoever you wanted that's expensive. I think that's viable, but I am more interested in Snell here. We know, wide range of outcomes, but he's been much better, and this is a good enough matchup for a team that doesn't see him. It's a good price. I think I'm probably going to be playing a decent amount of Snell tonight. I don't mind if you want to take some Angels bats where you're not playing Snell. I think that's actually very reasonable. And you're just going to get zero ownership whatsoever on them. So anybody you want to play, I'm sort of saying you can go ahead and do it. And even a mini stack makes sense to me. The San Diego stack is definitely viable. I think that, trying to attack Berea makes a little bit of sense. I'm just going to double check the weather in San Diego tonight. It's been warmer out here. It's not quite as warm tonight, 68 degrees, a little wind blowing in. San Diego's a little bit on the outside looking in as far as my favorite stacks, but they are still on the board. And I don't mind getting to some of them, but I also don't mind using that weird double spend down with Berea and Gavin Williams if you wanted to build a lineup that way. I think that's viable if you wanted to use the big bats. What you probably want to do is play Brian Wu instead of either of those guys against San Francisco, who just has been giving up big games to everybody, strike out a ton against righties. They also have some power upside, but it is in San Francisco, which means it's going to be cold, 61 degrees. And 10 degrees blowing out means basically nothing in San Francisco. I like Logan Webb and Dylan Wu. I like both pitchers in this game as priorities, along with Ryan and Snell. And that's the way I'm treating this game. I'm not going to be attacking the bats. The Pittsburgh Dodger game at the end here, I do think there's some opportunity to get a little bit different here. I think Michael Grove you could include in that conversation of the spend downs. if you wanted to make it that kind of a slate that I sort of chose to on Friday. But we do have some pitching I like a little bit better at the top today. But I personally, assuming that it is Grove who ends up starting tonight, I'm going to have a little bit of interest in both offenses. I'm not going to play Keller, I don't think, against the Dodgers. This is exactly the type of thing where the Dodgers end up struggling against these no-name pitchers, and then they end up crushing a guy like Keller. I think the Dodger stack is completely viable tonight, and I think Pittsburgh is very viable. It's just a matter of which way you want to rank the pitchers you like best. So, I mean, the stacks you like best. So I've got it Atlanta, Minnesota, and the Pittsburgh Dodger game, both sides of the Pittsburgh Dodger game. You can actually use the Pittsburgh bats for value to try to make it easier to get a Dodger stack in. And you're not going to be way off the board with it, but I do think it's viable. So yeah, Atlanta, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, LA are my favorites. And I think the Dodgers are going to be lower owned on a 6-game slate than they usually would be because of the Keller of it all. And I don't mind a full stack for the Dodgers, and just hope they get to Keller early and then beat up on the bullpen. And it's very, very reasonable today. So I'll be live with you guys at 6 Eastern. Just wanted to do a quick video so you guys have a little bit of an idea of what I'm going through. If you have any thoughts or questions, go ahead and pop them in, but I'm probably gonna jump out of here. Just wanted to give a quick rundown of what I'm thinking. We'll have some more updates later, and once we get starting lineups, we'll have a little bit of a better idea of what we want to do. But I've got it as Ryan, Snell, Wu, and Webb, and the Dodgers, Minnesota, Atlanta, and some Pittsburgh. So good luck to everybody, and we'll see you guys at 6 Eastern, and hopefully at the top.